Welcome to the podcast, Shubinder. How are you?
Thank you, Alex, for having me. I'm very good. How are you?
Fine. I'm in Kiev, Ukraine. Where are you from?
I'm from London here.
So, can you tell me about yourself, about how you came to be such an intelligent and bright person that you are?
Oh, thank you so much for the kind words. I'm not sure how to best start that. Like, would it
Just
be?
be yourself and don't be shy about anything that you want to share.
Absolutely. It might be worth running I guess I can tell you what I'm doing currently and then obviously run you
Okay.
through. So currently I'm in the process of sort of building and expanding my AI agency, AI automation agency called Align Solutions. And I've been part of this journey for some time now in the tech space and loving the space. Obviously there's a lot happening, a lot of buzz around AI, automation, technology, and I'm excited to work with obviously people like yourselves and just understanding new use cases. So but in the past sort of couple of years before I started my agency, I've been working with various companies, working as a full stack developer. Worked with companies like NHS App, which obviously is very dear to my heart, which is healthcare here in the UK with IBM. I got to also work with FinTech as a full stack developer with Hargreaves Lansdowne, the Royal Bank of Canada, which was very interesting. So building the plethora of my knowledge, I'm channeling all of that experience into what I'm building right now, and definitely I see a lot happening. Very interesting, and I get epiphanies every single day. So yeah, that's pretty much my current state.
So let me maybe I will start. Just you told me about healthcare, about finance, and so concerning healthcare, what do you think the technology can help people to be healthier and live longer and happier?
So I guess one of the biggest reasons why I got into tech was I like to think to myself, I'm a very philosophical person. I find meaning in philosophy, and I try to go and understand the deeper meaning of what life is. I'm sure everyone else does as well. So technology became my calling. I found it was just naturally something that came to me. I was very interested in how technology comes together with our personal lives. And I've, of course, worked on the NHS App, which is here in the UK, one of the biggest organisations that provides healthcare and deals with anything, hospitals, trusts, and the NHS App is pretty much based on that. So, of course, I've seen a lot of various use cases, but personally, I really like seeing how technology has transformed my life. But from a health perspective, of course, it helps other people manage their lives as well. Manage, for example, through the NHS app, they can communicate with their GPs here, they can communicate with the doctors, keep on track with their prescription for anything that is related to any new services that will come onto NHS, and then NHS has the ability to actually test out those new features. But yeah, as I mentioned, that's more commercial, I guess. And you get to see the numbers as well, how many people you are able to help in terms of healthcare. But I think that's just the sort of stepping stone, and I don't think that technology is still serving the larger good at the moment. It's still sort of in the development phases. I think that in the future, and I'm probably going far-fetched, but I don't mind that, technology should be at a place where everyone should have their own personal doctor in their own, either when we have phones or we have glasses we're wearing, wherever, but there should be some form of doctor that is able to diagnose you and then be able to sort of recommend anything. So I know we have wearables. I'm very, very, very interested in the wearable side, the technological side, how the different areas meet. But yeah, I think everyone should have a personal doctor in the long run.
I think that it correlates with what I read in Peter Attia book is around Bhagavad Gita called Outlive.
Yeah.
And he describes that there are three stages of medicine. That medicine 1.0 is from prehistorical times to recent, maybe couple hundred years ago. Then the second type of medicine is more scientific, where medicine cures the problems. But the medicine 3.0 medicine, or the science predicts predicts and it studies the current state of our organism and initial stages of cancer. It's so important. It's incredibly important to understand where a person starts with a problem, with sugar, with cancer, with mental things, so that it can be, at some stage, it can be reversed. So that is incredibly important because Peter Thiel calls this four horsemen of fatal diseases like cancer, then heart disease, then diabetes, and then Alzheimer's mental illness. All of them kill people in 10 years and 20 years. But
absolutely,
all of them can be stopped and reversed in the initial stages. So that's important point. And I bought myself continuous glucose monitor last year. So I wear it for 2 weeks, and I think it's incredibly important to understand one's health. How do you, and my next question, what about how do you treat your health? So do you use technology, or do you just, what kind of lifestyle supports you? I mean both physical health and mental health.
Yes, absolutely. I think in terms of technology, I do have wearables, so where I'm able to track what I'm eating, what I'm, my heart rate and the exercise I do, which helps me keep track of, it's like data as I go along, and it's building that digital breadcrumb to understand how I'm keeping track. So I guess, you touched on cancer. Very recently, in the last 2 to 3 years, my dad and my auntie, who are brothers and sisters, they recently went through sort of cancer. They also got operated for it. I've entered my early 30s. So for me, of course, the 20s, you go living life sort of invincible to a certain extent. You don't think about the bigger problems, more deeper problems. You just focus on your life and trying to get some things out. So you don't really focus on, or at least I can talk by myself. I didn't focus on my health a lot. I tried my best as much as I could. I obviously I tried as best as I could, but as I turned 30, I started realizing how health is actually the way I think, the way I see the world. If I'm healthy, I can actually look inwards, and then it helps me shape the way I'm approaching people, approaching the world, any problems. If I'm not healthy, if I'm not feeling well within myself and my mental health, then I'm not going to be able to approach and do the great stuff that I'm doing right now, and obviously be more ambitious and try to help others as well. So I think based on the problems I've seen and obviously how it resonates within my family, I've made a active change towards, of course, working out and trying different things. I try calisthenics, I do that. I started doing yoga as well, and I've started doing other sort of breath work, and I have used technology for that, for example, listening to meditation videos. And I think one of the biggest things, of course, these are the things that came to me after becoming more aware of the problem. I think technology helps in terms of keeping track of these things, but you need to get to the place where you become problem aware. You become aware of why you want to do that. And I think technology really helps in that manner as well. Just learning about your body, the technology can recommend the various areas how technology can improve your health, or you can be proactive rather than reactive. I think that's one of the biggest things. We tend to be quite reactive to issues, and I want to be proactive towards it and start taking my health in my own hands. And I think technology massively helps. The sheer amount of videos. Of course, there are downsides of it. Of course, I wouldn't say it's all the sort of best. We still need to optimize things, and that's one of the biggest challenges as we go along and people start integrating wearables into their lives and the way we sort of see technology in our lives. But that awareness is more important than anything else. Then technology comes.
You mentioned mostly still the physical fitness, and you mentioned that you also work on mental toughness and to be mentally healthful. So apart from meditations, apart from listening to videos, maybe reading books, what kind of activities do you use, and what kind of insights and discoveries did you find in your maybe later years?
So one of the biggest things I'm going through right now as I'm building my business as well, and I'm learning, I'm seeing the world in a different way. I would say slowing down is one of the biggest one of the biggest virtues that has helped me, because as I mentioned, in your early 20s, I've tried to, I had so many different models, so many different ways of looking at life, of the world, because of my friends, families, people around me. I also lived in India as well for 9 years, so I endowed a different type of culture from there. When I came to UK, like, I was born in the UK, went to India, lived there for 9 years, and came back. So of course, culturally, you have different ways of looking at things. I think the being ambitious part it's great, but it's the meaning that I give to it, I realized, rather than taking the meaning from someone else. So from the mental health perspective, from health perspective, from a looking outward perspective, I've slowed down and I've tried to remove the distractions in my life. So I've narrowed down what I want to do first of all, and then intentionally going through sort of digital detox, intentionally being present in the moment, and not trying to be 10 different places and wake up and be stressed, even though it is the case, but I catch it sooner, which is amazing. And I think, that's the sort of element of Maya. I know you read the Bhagavad Gita, the element of Maya. So I think I'm also exercising in that realm as well. So there's a lot of intertanglement of different things.
I think that what you mentioned about Maya, there is also three gunas of material nature, of modes of tamas, which is negligence, and then rajas, which is passion, and then the goodness, and so sattva. So I think that you need to sometimes to balance between a little rajas, because you need to achieve some things in the world, but put more in the sattva mode with a little bit slowing down, digitally detox that you mentioned. And so can you tell me how living in India for 9 years affected your inner stability, maybe your personality, and how it relates to the culture that you are living in the moment?
Yes, I think about that quite often. I think living in India was a very interesting phase of my life. It came to me as a shock, to be honest. As an 7-year-old child, 7 or 8-year-old child, I forgot, 8-year-old child, and it was an interesting phase, and I learnt immensely. But it was a era of different shock and pain as well, because new environment. Me living in the UK, school system was different. I went to India. I was, as I said, 8 years old. I went to the school, very different environment. Everyone was very regimented, not as like UK, very regimented in India. Extreme discipline, and I realized that there's 2 new languages that I didn't know how to read. I could speak them, but I didn't know how to read them. And I pretty much started crying when I was young. I was like, I don't know all this stuff. I went through where everyone was, moving ahead with things. I was like there. I wasn't sure where I was. But I would say just, as a experience as a whole, living in India, it taught me many things. It showed me life in various levels. People living in slums, people living in very big inequality, how people spoke. I think my personality is intertwined with, I can go to India and I can just easily just be a part of the culture. No one can tell I've ever lived in the UK, or because I can speak the language. I just easily integrate, and then I love it. It's like, I think when it comes to the culture and being multilingual, your brain forms in a different way, because you're constantly shifting between different. I'm sure that's for yourselves as well, because you can shift between, or you can articulate in 2 different languages. And in my case, I was articulating in Hindi, which you must know because you've visited India as well. Punjabi is where I was from in Punjab. I am Punjabi. Some call them Sikhs. So yeah, it's an amazing for my personality, for my personal growth, and I think also how I view problems as well. The way I problem solve, it has shaped. Those early years has shaped me, because my family were Indians tend to be quite frugal in the way they spend. So that frugality does, initially it's not the best, because, being frugal, you don't get all the toys you want. But as you grow, you start realizing the value for, I guess, money, the value for the things that really matter. So in my case, education has been drilled into me. But when it came, because I needed it, I just doubled down on it. So I learned everything I could, and obviously that opened doors for me as well. So there's many things to sort of gain from that.
Yeah, that's a profound story about your journey and your living in different culture and learning in different languages deeper. I understand that kind of shock that you experienced, and so for us here in Ukraine, also we were taught in Russian, but we had two languages here, Ukrainian and Russian. Like you'd see Hindi and Punjabi maybe. So they have some similarities, but they're quite different. So then we learned English. And for myself, I think English opened the doors for me. So I tried to learn many things in my life, but I still understand that there is something that I could have learned better if the level of education as the schools in my youth were terrible, and the students, the boys, the children were not respected, and so we had quite a harsh treatment in school. And so we didn't like it. So I think that my children now, they go to private schools, so they are treated like 100 times better than that. So in kind of, you explained how the difference of the cultures and the importance of education. But then when you came back and your later education and technology, how did you study technology and what did you learn after you came back from India?
So when I came back, I think I probably haven't really spoken about this, but I think when I came back, it was, okay, everyone in India wanted to actually just, move to a different country, UK, Canada, US. For me as well, that was actually, believe it or not, it was actually, it seemed, when I was young, it seemed impossible. I was like, I'll probably never be able to go at that time. I only came back to UK twice in 9 years during vacation, and that's it. I didn't really visit it frequently. So it was, but then when I did come back, I was like, okay, I've got maybe freedom, because it was very, even my family being Indian, very regimented. I got the freedom, I got the sort of, a different culture that I got to sort of flourish in. I got to make friends at college. I think making friends was difficult in India. I guess what you just mentioned as well, like I can resonate with the harsh treatment. So I did go through that as well in India. So that there was a few things that were challenging. But when I got to UK, I guess it still was difficult because I had to learn so many different things. I would definitely say, based on those things, adaptation is probably one of the biggest, how do you call it? The biggest abilities that human beings have is, and I've seen that within myself, and I'm sure you've seen that within yourself, and I've heard your story as well. But yeah, when I came back, I pretty much wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Went college, but then did some small jobs. As you do, you start working, you start learning about what the world's about. And then I quickly realized I wanted to study and wanted to actually, make an impact. So I studied business management. From there, technology was on the rise. There was a lot more companies. This is back in 2010, 11, and then obviously when I graduated university, it was 2017. But I learned so much. There was such a shift happening in the world based on technology, and I knew exactly that's where I wanted to be, because being a part of technology, I could be in different industries. I could work with different industries and see how the technology and those things are shaping. That was the common constant. And I see it now. I look back now, I see that I can, of course, I've worked in different companies that are in different industries. And even now within my business, I am trying to touch on different industries. So I'm not industry specific. And I think I've not built the only way of learning, which is vital, because that constant shift has pushed me to constantly come out of my comfort zone and learn something new. So I don't give my brain too much time to just get complacent, or I think this just the situation has put me in that position where, okay, I've found things difficult, so I started reading books, and books have shaped my mind massively.
So let's come to the books part. And so can you share which maybe three, 4 books that shape your mind the most?
Okay, so I think one of the biggest books that have shaped my mind is The Atomic Habits. I think just tying back into everything that we've been speaking about, just being in my early 20s, stress, rush, I'm over-ambitious, comparison, everything has come from me looking at a model. And I tend to tie in technology or computers to philosophy a lot, because computers tend to break tasks down and they don't multitask actually. If you think that computers multitask, they actually don't. From the lower level, they're just ones and zeros that are assigned one task and they just do it a narrow task really well. Same with AI, they do not narrow tasks really well. I think us as human beings, we are able to learn from our eyes, our brains, from our eyes, the senses that we have, right? The touch, smell, hearing, the seeing, and we build a model and we compare. We think this is the Maya, right? We don't walk the walk. We talk the talk as well. Like we talk. So one thing about Atomic Habits is it's about breaking systems down into very, very small processes. And then it also talks about not rising up to your goals, which you have millions of goals. I want a nice car. I want to go to the Alps. I want to be with someone. I want to get married. I want a dog. I want this. Just so much, right? Which one human can't always attain all at once. And when you're young, it's very difficult. But it talks about building systems. So not goals, but it talks about building systems. And I love that. Like, it has changed my life because I'm only focusing on the systems now. And then the goals will keep track of themselves. Every day I wake up now, I don't have the same stress, the same rush to get to the task I want to do. I say to myself, how can I improve my system? How can I make sure that my desk is organized for me to do work? It's not cluttered. How do I make sure that my computer and every single system that I'm using, and obviously you know this in our business now, we are using and we're systemizing so many different things. And when you look at something, it looks fancy, but you don't want the fanciness, you want the functionality. And if the system serves you and it alleviates that pain from your life, that's what is an amazing. I think this is probably one book that I can just I give this as gifts to my friends.
That's nice story, and I share your opinion about this book. I came to know James Clear by the podcast of Tim Ferriss. He has a nice story. James Clear, he has a pivotal point in his life where he was almost killed in his young age, and then he created systems for him to better shape his personality, because systems and also your identity is also the key part of these books. When you have your identity, else is also up to this. When you're not smoker, there is no way that you will smoke if you consider you're not smoker. If you consider yourself a successful entrepreneur, that whatever happens, you will get back to this position. Another good point from this book is about making these systems about good habits and bad habits, so that good habits are clear, that they are palatable, that they are
attractive.
You make it attractive, it's easy, and so bad habits you make it difficult. For example, there's one example that when you watch TV, that after watching TV you put it out of the electricity and you put it in another room. And when you want to watch TV, then you come to another room, bring it and put it. And also to have different space and time for different process. For example, you stay. I also wake up at about 5 a.m. and I do something for 3-4 hours before everybody is up and running. So I have special places for reading, special places for working, special places for meditation. And one of the most, it's also from this book, I was overweight for some years, and 2 years ago actually, I went outside for 1 hour a day. I did some exercising. I knew that this time from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm in the stadium. Like for 1 year, I completely changed. Like nobody said, you change, you become younger, I became stronger. Then I went to the gym. 1 hour per day makes incredible changes in personality and physical state. So now in 51 years, I can do more in the gym than I could do 20 years ago.
That's amazing. It talks about the compounding of the system and its repetitions. So yeah, that's and you see, the thing is, through that lens, you see it everywhere. Like what's amazing is that it shaped my way of thinking, because before I used to always look at a business or a person, and I used to think that someone has some magical powers that they got there, or like an unfair advantage, which is 100% a case. Everyone has unfair advantages. But the thing is, if you have, Naval Ravikant talks about this. Give me a lever. What it was a philosopher. I forgot his name, but he talks about give me a lever long enough, and I'll rotate the world.
Archimedes.
Archimedes. Yeah, that's it. And I think that's the compounding effect, that if you break the system down and you understand, okay, what goes behind that system, and you keep on trying, and you keep on trying, it's like you always think, I always thought that the more I tried, like it just, because I didn't reach a certain result, that's it, like it wasn't good enough, or I would always keep in my head that I would not be able to achieve that. So it was like self-fulfilling prophecy. But now the shift is keep on putting effort into that one process and keep on doing it, and then there's nothing that can stop you from achieving a certain result. It's like building that lever, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So unfair advantage, the lever's compound effect is very, very important. James Clear's Atomic Habits is based on also on the compound effect of adding 1% of improvement every day. So in 365 days, you will be like about 20 times better, because it's a compound effect. It goes like this.
Yeah,
and also the same with getting worse. Like if you go worse 1% per day, and then in 1 year you will be completely crashed, like a drunkard, like you see a bum. How to describe this? That's a fantastic book, and maybe you can share another book with us.
Another one, I think this one is Scott Adams. I'm still reading it. I mean, I've got plenty of books, but I thought this was probably a little bit more on an entrepreneurial journey. So how to fail at almost everything and still win big. It's an interesting book. It kind of goes in the same level as Atomic Habits. And it actually does talk about systems. It talks about absolutely systems. It talks about, Scott Adams he's a cartoonist, but he sort of takes you on a journey, and it shows you how his corporate life was, and then how he became a cartoonist from that. And then he also talks about how he went through some issues health-wise, where he could not speak for some time. He could only sing, or he could not speak. His words were blurred. But it was the system that he put into place, where he woke up every single day and he was able to fail constantly. So that's that system where he continuously built a compounding effect, but he failed continuously as well, which is one thing that coming from an Indian background, failure is a massive thing that people don't want to do. People don't want to fail. People fail. We all fail. Systems fail. But the only thing is that we want to fail fast. But we don't put that as a contingency in place. We try to reach the end goal, which is a passing, but we don't think about those micro failures initially. At least in my cultural experience, failure was a very bad thing. If you did not get a certain grade, that's it. But I think having that fear makes you a perfectionist, and that perfectionist actually kills your creativity in the long run. It doesn't let you take those risks, and it never puts you in those positions that you need to be for you to actually get exposed to something to be successful. If you never play the game because you think that you're gonna lose, you're never gonna play the game, right? If you don't think there's any chance of winning, but if you play, I mean, you see athletes, they play, they fail, they play, they fail. And everyone has a track record. So I see my life as an entrepreneur, as an athlete. I want to fail as many times, and this book gives me that sort of, let's say, permission to say, you know what, go fail, let's fail at. And plus, we're in this space, in this digital world, where we have the ability to fail and just learn. And once we learn from that, we get exposed to the problem, we understand what not to do, and then improve it, and that's how computers learn, right? Machine learning. You've seen those robots, reinforcement learning. They play against each other. There's in the Google labs, these two robots. They keep on falling constantly on each other. They don't know how to. Then they learn to get up. Then they learn to run a little bit. They find a ball. Then they learn how to kick the ball, but they fail. And then because they played so much, there is constant data from that failure that they've gathered. They've actually learnt the correct way of building the system and how they can actually start scoring. So yeah, I think that's these two books absolutely amazing if you're an entrepreneur.
So you touched a lot of great points and conclusions. And cartoonists, I think some times ago I read about cartoonists about 50 years ago. They were among the wealthiest people on the planet. Some cartoonists make like $1 million per month because they were very popular, and they before the internet they are very influential, And even we read Jeff Kinney, I think, what Diary of a Wimpy Child. The book was sold more than 100 million copies. Just comics, and I read it and I like it a lot. We had about 15 books by Jeff Kinney, and that is so smart, so cool, and it touching the failures, number of failures. And Michael Jordan, I think he said like this, that I felt more than any other person on the planet.
Yeah.
Because he shoots a lot, and so he failed more than anyone else on the planet, and he was the best player of all time. So and another thing that I want to mention is about your vulnerability. And so when you're open, but you're not. When some people, they want to be successful all the time, and when something happens, they are closed, they don't react, and they on the fixed mindset. I think most people they are businessmen or they are like professionals, and so they are not vulnerable, they are closed. But other people are with growing mindset, and they allow to beat them, and all this beating they take as the opportunity to grow. So they take all the beating and they enjoy when they are in battle. So I think that comes up to growth mindset, ability to fail and come back and stand. And also maybe it relates to Marcus Aurelius, the obstacle and the Stoicism. Can you share your book, please?
Yeah. Oh, the Marcus Aurelius. I've just started reading this.
The same book, different editions.
Same book. I picked this up, and I think I definitely am quite inspired by Romans and philosophy from like Plato, Socrates, that like Greek philosophy. Just it's an amazing part. So it's a difficult read initially, but I think it's a difficult read because of the names, very different names. Also, one thing I found very difficult was relating to the timeline when they say in 167 AD. I don't know when that was. That's a very different timeline to me. So, but then it's I read quarter of the book, and I love how it's relating to the nature, the soul. It relates to going inwards and thinking about how beautiful the life is. I think that's one thing I realized, building a business. I knew that it's going to be a difficult challenge, and it's finding peace in the difficult moments. And we have examples everywhere around us, like the life, the nature. And I came across this word called anti-fragility.
Yeah.
Being anti-fragile, like just,
Nassim Taleb.
Nassim Taleb. Yeah. And it's all about the more you fail, the more you try, the more you put yourself out there. Initially you get beat down, but you build that anti-fragile. You're not fragile anymore. Like, it's not like you're glass, you break. You have muscles, you go to the gym, you tear your muscles, but you grow stronger to take on a new problem. So yeah, tying all those things together, obviously being stoic as well, but I think living in India, you do become a slightly stoic, to be honest. I was born in 1992. We didn't have, Nokia came out with the phones in 1999, I think. So I didn't see a phone for like a long time. My dad used to have one. We didn't have the social media, so it was different times. I'm sure relatively to you as well, like you have seen like very different times as well.
I was born in the USSR, so
exactly.
you can just imagine how life was there, completely, absolutely different what we have now no communication, no TV, almost no TV, because we had 3 channels, and all the channels translated the politicians and the speeches of the communist leaders, like all the day. A completely closed country, no usual movies, all propaganda. So we had lived in different world.
Yeah. That's a very different reality, to be honest. But what's amazing is that I think us as humans, this anti-fragile nature and the way we can actually communicate, so we're able to share at least and learn from each other's lives, struggles, and then what do you call it? Was it I don't know. Plato or Socrates talks about catharsis. Was it Shakespeare? Sorry, Shakespeare talks about catharsis, and that helps us share our own journeys or battles and then become stronger from that, which I didn't understand when I was young. I didn't understand these things. I just saw pain as a pain, but I've refrained my mindset towards pain. Like now I see pain as a good thing. It's just how I need more strength. I just need patience, and I can take on a challenge.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Shubinder. So I think we had a very deep conversation about many themes, and I enjoyed it a lot. And maybe at the final stage of this first episode, which I hope will be like a first in the series of our talks, because
Absolutely.
I think that we have a lot to share with each other and with the world. And so, what advice would you give to a person who graduates from the university and starts to go into the big world, like this year? What kind of two advice that you can give him?
Absolutely. I did come across this question a couple like 2 weeks ago in a hackathon. A bunch of kids were asking me this question, but I think one thing I would at least tell my younger self, I think I can relate to it as well, and whoever resonates with that, I would say, learn from the culture, learn from the history, learn from people around you, and use that knowledge and arm yourself, but then try things out yourself. Try and learn to fail. Don't see failure as a obstacle, because everyone wants to show their winning self. Everyone wants to show point A and point B, but no one wants to show the journey. And I think the journey is the most beautiful part. And this is why you want to slow down to actually enjoy the journey. So try things out yourself. The world is changing. It rewards you to be different as well. Allows you to there's so many problems in the world that have not been solved yet. And looking at the problem from a different perspective and allowing yourself to fail towards it is gonna help shape a better future, rather than trying to compare ourselves to a certain benchmark and saying I am better than you because of XYZ reasons. I don't think that's the case. We are all unique in our own ways. So yeah, that's what I would say to my younger self and anyone who's listening and watching.
Thank you, Shubs. So that is so helpful.
Absolutely.
So thank you for the interview, Shubs.
Thank you, Alex, so much, and thank you for having me.